Welcome back to Higurashi. Let's check from the scrapbook 8 for our first tip for today. The three families in modern times. As previously described, the Three Families Council today is a mere shell of democracy. In reality, it is a dictatorship run by the Sonozaki family. I mean, that certainly falls in line with my observations so far. Especially with how they're kind of like making people from the Furude family and the Kimiyoshi family disappear. I don't know. It's definitely seeming that way. Both the Kimiyoshi and Furude families are far from their former glory, and it doesn't seem at all like they've maintained the ancient traditions. Only the Sonozaki family has retained their glory from the past and has inherited many colorful traditions from the age known as Onigafuchi Village. Even the most recent verifiable example of Watanagashi that occurred at the end of the Meiji era seems to have been done under the orders of the Sonozaki family. Okay, so according to Mio and Takano's journal here, this is an actual, verifiable instance of Watanagashi that occurred. Like, straight up, an actual verifiable instance of somebody being eaten and, or killed and eaten, or whatever. So, yeah. That apparently seems to have been done by the Sonozaki family. That part is apparently not verifiable, but the rest seems to be. Refer to the three families' genealogical tree from the late Meiji. That would be an interesting diagram that I would like to see, but I have the feeling that we're never going to get to see anything like that. After the start of the Meiji era, the Sonozaki family wanted to push the development of Hinamizawa Village, so they took a strong role in leadership. During the Dam Wars a few years ago, the Kimiyoshi family served as the chair of the Opposition Alliance, but this was in name only. In actuality, the Sonozaki family reigned as leader behind the scenes. People whisper that perhaps the Kimiyoshi family dictated acts of opposition that could not be publicized, and the Sonozaki family enacted those which could not. Even in Hinamizawa, they whisper that the multitude of unsettling incidents reported during the dam protests, such as the kidnappings of the famous head of the Ministry of Construction's son, had been carried out by the Sonozakis. Okay, so it was the Ministry of Construction's son who was kidnapped. Now, I'm trying to remember, do we know who the Ministry of Construction, or the head of the Ministry of Construction was? I think... No, it wasn't the dam foreman. It was someone else. But I don't think it has anything to do with the characters that we know. I'm trying to think if it was, what's his name? Satogo's dad, but I don't think so. I think he was just a person who supported the dam. I don't know. Additionally, they say that perhaps the Sonozaki family's secret maneuvering was responsible for the serial freak death incidents that have continuously occurred in recent years as well. The serial freak death incidents are without a doubt the second coming of the traditional Watanagashi. They must be enacting the Watanagashi on the day of the original Watanagashi, which has fallen to the level of an ordinary village festival, in order to remind the villagers of the holy laws of Onigafuchi Village. It's safe to assert that exploring the Sonozaki family is the fastest route for researching it today. If I can expose the contents of the Furude Shrine storehouse, I'd like to narrow my research target to the Sonozaki family next. The Sonozaki house is strictly guarded by security cameras on the premises, but thankfully I've become acquainted with the sisters Mion, the next heir, and Shion. I want this to be a breakthrough I can connect to my next line of research. I feel like that might have been her last entry, but I don't know. I mean, there might still be more. So, their punishment isn't over. It seems to be something that took place on the night of the Watanagashi. But who's there? And what kind of punishment are we talking here? Let's find out.
いえいえ、気にしないでくださいよ。このなぜか年計のガソリンスタンドの請求書に化けちゃうんですよ。だから遠慮しないでもう一杯飲んでいけばいいのに。
The man, red-faced, waved his hand to say he'd had enough and disappeared into the brilliant neon lights in front of the station.
クマちゃんも勉強しといてくださいよ。謙虚な人が結局一番長生きするんです。
Oh, was that Kimiyoshi then?
さっきの話、
さて、それはわからないですけどね。真偽はともかく、そういう話がまことしやかに流れてるってことには意味があると思いますよ。
そんなのが村長を狙う動機になりうるんすかね。
クマちゃん、いつも言ってるでしょ。動機っていうのは、その本人に十分でありさえすれば足りるんです。価値観の違いをよく考えなくちゃ。あ、お母さん、もう一杯ください。
Though we have been suppressing the information, Tomitake and Takano's deaths were already known throughout Hinamizawa. All of the rumors pointed to them having incurred the wrath of Oyashida-sama for setting foot in the Forbidden Temple, the storehouse for ritual implements. According to the rumors, there were two other people who went in there with them. Shion Sonozaki and Keiichi Maibara. And these rumors... You really can't believe everything you hear, I mean, come on. People were whispering in these shadows that those two would be cursed by Oyashida-sama as well. Apparently, however, the responsibility didn't fall solely on the four trespassers' shoulders. Until last year, it was locked up tight, but this year it had been changed to a simpler lock. Hadn't that been what allowed thieves to enter so easily? Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I think that was done for a reason, but I don't know why. Those were the rumors going around.
クマちゃんは見たことありませんか？私はずいぶん前に何かのようで行った時に見たことをよく覚えてますよ。
すみません。ちょっと思い出せないっす。
そりゃもう、おっかないくらいに厳重に施錠してありましてね。まるで大金庫みたいに厳重な蔵だったんですよ。
This year it was a very simple and cheap padlock. The lone girl protecting the shrine, Rika Furude, disliked the heavy locks and consulted with the mayor, who had replaced it with a simpler padlock. Huh.
だから村長とフルデリカも同罪ってことなんですか？だとしたら村長に続いてフルデリカもまずいじゃないですか。
God, I really hope not. That is something that I do not want to happen. But I feel like that could also implicate them in some way, because it feels like they're almost like baiting somebody to break in there. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what their angle in doing that could be.
その可能性は大ですね。クマちゃん、ひなみ沢を巡回している覆面者に至急連絡。フルデ神社近辺に張り付かせてください。
了解っす。
I really hope that she's okay, but I guess we're gonna find out. So, let's keep going. This is about the time when things actually get ugly. Right, like, I think that around this time, we were starting to see, like, cars trying to run over Keiichi and stuff in the last one, so... Yeah, I'm not looking forward to this. After hanging up on Shion, I searched for Rika-chan's phone number on my school's contact list. There it is. My fingers trembled with urgency, and I failed multiple times to put in the simple 5-digit number.
K1、こんな時間に電話？夜遅くは先方に失礼だからよしなさい。
今はそれどころじゃないんだよ。
I shouted angrily at my mother, listening to the dial tone. Pick up, come on, pick up. I think she's gonna pick up, and she's gonna be really tired. At least I hope so. The time was 11 p.m. It certainly wasn't early. It was essentially the middle of the night. Had Rika-chan already gone to bed? And I wonder if she actually, just lives alone or what? Surely she's got, some kind of guardian. Her phone would be ringing constantly, though, so would she get back up for me? Rika-chan didn't pick up. She didn't pick up. She didn't pick up. Maybe she just happened to miss it. Maybe her bed was just too far away from the phone. The sound of a phone ringing gets clearer and clearer the longer you go on sleeping. Then, the bathroom. Yeah, she must be taking a bath. If that was the case, then even if she heard the phone, she wouldn't be able to pick up. It was a little late to be taking a bath, but it was possible she normally took baths right before going to bed. I'll wait 30 minutes, then try calling again. Even as I was thinking that, I called her house over and over again. I kept calling. Over and over, again and again. I kept on calling her, but she didn't pick up even once. I think I kept trying for about 30 minutes, yet she wasn't picking up. My phone calls so persistent that she had gotten scared of picking up the receiver. No, that couldn't possibly be it. There was no point in doing this any longer. The best thing to do would be to go there in person. Well, normally I'd say that's not a good idea, but I also want to know if she's okay, so... Where was Rika-chan's house, though? I mean, probably the shrine. Shit, I've never even asked where she lived. Her residence was written there in the contact list, but it was an address with mostly numbers, so I couldn't tell where it was just by reading it. Isn't there a map or something in here? Rika Furude. Her last name was Furude. It was a bit of an odd last name, so it might be easy to find. Thinking that, I rummaged around the drawer with the phone book, but could only find things like takeout menus and phone numbers for public establishments. Shit, shit, shit. I tore one thing after another out of the drawer, but I didn't come up with any clues as to where Rika-chan's house was. Calm down, Keiichi, my butter. If you don't know, then just ask. Ask someone who does know. I looked up Reina's phone number on the contact list. Reina Ryugu. There she was. It was the voice of a grumpy-sounding man. It must have been Reina's father. I am calling in the middle of the night. I need to be polite. Alright, Reina Ryugu was her real name, wasn't it? Interesting that her parents call her that, and she doesn't like being called that. I'd gotten so used to calling her Rena that hearing her real name caught me a little off guard. Rena seemed a little appalled that I'd call her for something like that at this hour. However, she spoke her next words seriously, as if she'd caught on to how urgent my need was.
そこに住んでるんだよ。
I couldn't immediately visualize the place, but as long as I knew she lived on the shrine grounds, I'd just have to take a look
わか
around.
った。ありがとう。こんな遅くにすまなかったな。親父さんに謝っといてくれ。
そんなのはいいよ、ケイチ君。それより、どうしてリカちゃんの家を聞くのかな。
Rena asked in an unusually sharp way, halting me before I could hang up the phone. I hesitated for a moment about whether to tell her. He was killed because I told him.
聞こえてるなら答えてほしいな。どうしてリカちゃんの家の場所をこんな時間に聞きたいのかな。
Rena affected her usual tone, but beneath her words lay a certain tension, like she'd intuitively sensed something was going on. What will you do, Keiji? If it's Rena, can't I tell her? No, absolutely not. He was killed because he found out. I revealed everything, so he was killed.
ケイチ君、レナは真剣に聞いてるんだけどな。答えてほしいよ。
Rena asked me once again in a tone so forceful I couldn't imagine her ever using it normally. I was taken aback by her vigor. Rena was Rika-chan's friend, too. She had the right to be concerned about Rika-chan disappearing. If I told Rena, then, even if only for a moment, I could drive away my horrifying fears.
その理由を聞かれると困るんだが。
Rena's tone was seriousness itself. Just from that tone, I could feel her saying, "No matter what you say, Keiichi-kun, I'll believe you." That subtle sense of security gave me the courage to reveal the
リカ
truth.
ちゃんが危ない気がするんだ。
それは虫の知らせかな。それともリカちゃんに危険が迫っている何か確信がある。
I really didn't have time to go back and forth with Rena about this. Still, I think listening to her calm voice soothed my pointless
確
impatience.
信はないけど。
Yet, I still hesitated. I had told Rika-chan that we had snuck into the ritual storehouse. The mayor, to whom Shion had confessed before that, had already disappeared. So it was possible that Rika-chan also. I didn't know how to explain it to Rena. While I was tongue-tied, Rena spoke up.
変なこと聞いてごめんね。考えたら確信なんか必要なかった。
Rena laughed a little, seeming a bit absent-minded. I wasn't exactly in the mood to laugh, so this time I was dumbfounded. Rena continued in a cheerful yet still purposeful
友
voice.
達のことが心配になってそれを確かめるのに理由なんかいらないと思う。仮にリカちゃんが寝ててそれを起こしてしまったとしてもそれが理由なら私たちは誰も怒らないと思うよ。
Rena, thank you.
まずはケイチ君に確認するね。リカちゃんの家に電話はしたんだよね。それでどうしても繋がらないから家の場所を聞いてきたんだね。
ああ。10分以上は鳴らし続けたと思う。ひょっとしたら気づかなくて寝てるだけなのかも。
リカちゃんの家はとても狭いの。だから電話が鳴ったらたとえ寝ていても気づかないわけはないよ。さとこちゃんもいるんだから2人揃って気づかないわけはない。
え、さとこってリカちゃんと一緒に住んでるのか？
That makes sense, I think.
うん、知らなかったの？今はその話は後ね。とにかく電話をそれだけ鳴らして誰も出ないのは絶対におかしいよ。
Although, if Satoko is, like, one of the people that we should be suspicious of, then that's really not good. Rena understood that the situation wasn't normal far faster than I could have ever imagined her to. It made her seem dependable. However, the fact that Rena had acknowledged this also meant that the best-case possibility of it all just being the result of my own needless fears went out the window.
私も今からすぐにリカちゃんの家に行くね。一緒に行く？なら迎えに行くよ。
わかった。じゃあいつもの待ち合わせ場所で合流しよう。待ってるぞ。
私、ケイチ君の家に迎えに行くから。だからお家で待ってていいよ。それからご家族に私と一緒にリカちゃんの家に行ってくるって 伝えておいてね。
うちでいいのか？時間のロスのような。
あと、みーちゃんには電話した？みーちゃんはこういう時すっごく頼もしいの。
That really might not be the best idea.
まだなら私から電話しておくね。
My thoughts froze for a moment. Shion had just told me to be careful around Mion during our phone conversation a little while ago. But if you hesitate, then Rena's gonna pick up on it, so... You might be better off just letting... I don't know, this is a tough one. If the Zonozaki main house was somehow lurking behind the surface of the annual freak deaths, then the current heir to the family, Mion, wouldn't be uninvolved. So, wouldn't that mean that she wasn't uninvolved in what happened this year to Takano-san and Tomitake-san and also the mayor's disappearance?
じゃあね。すぐに行くからね。待っててね。
That's all Rena said before hurriedly hanging up. Now wasn't the time to be doubting Mion. I needed to make sure Rika-chan was safe. I got changed and grabbed the key to my bike. I figured things would go more smoothly if we met up in the place we usually do before school. Rena wouldn't need to come all the way to my house. My parents would probably have objected if I told them I was leaving, so I creeped out without a word. The night was unusually warm and disagreeably humid. She said that Rika-chan and Satoko lived together, right? Then it wasn't only Rika-chan. Satoko wasn't there either, which is doubly suspicious. Realizing what them living together really meant caused my thoughts to immediately take a turn for the worse. That can't be. Satoko is... She's got nothing to do with any of this. Except she was missing on the night of the Watanagashi. She's very likely to be the person who saw you. Even if there was a reason for Rika-chan to disappear, there shouldn't be one for Satoko. Rena was really fast. She approached me on her bike at an amazing speed. Her breath was ragged, painting a clear picture of just how hurriedly she'd been going. Rena's expression was all business. Was she mad? It came out of the blue and I faltered for a moment. Rena shouted, clearly angry. I'd never seen Rena like this before. Rena seemed to notice she was scaring me, took a couple of deep breaths, then continued as if admonishing me, but her expression didn't soften at all. I mean, she's not even wrong. I began to understand where Rena's anger was coming from. I mean, surely she told her parents. Like, I don't know why Keiji has to be the one to tell his parents. Why she would, like, tell him specifically to say that, and then not tell her parents. That seems a little weird. Rena was perfectly level-headed in this emergency situation. Ever since the night of the Watanagashi, every night someone had died or disappeared. On the night itself, Takano-san and Tomitake-san met strange ends. On the next night, the elder vanished. Now, on the next night after that, Rika-chan and Satoko were nowhere to be found. I hadn't been thinking of anyone but myself, but it wasn't enough to say that Hinamizawa was a little weird at the moment. It was in fact extremely strange. Rena had even anticipated our own disappearances and had told me to tell my family where I was going. I was embarrassed at my own carelessness, and the need to be embarrassed made me afraid of the night.
まだ言ってなかった。
じゃあ一緒に言いに行こう。
With Rena beside me, I wheeled back towards my house. The moon seemed strangely high in the sky. A sky that was uselessly vast and cold, so that no matter what, it would never seem to me like a dream, like this cruel fact had already confronted me. On such a crazy night, Rena had been unimaginably dependable. Hinamizawa's metamorphosis, enough to make Rena caution me against carelessness, was, to me, the most fearsome thing of all. The moon seemed strangely high in the sky. We met up with Mion on the way. She, of course, was unsure whether to believe me about Rika-chan and Sanako's disappearance.
ケイちゃん、本気で言ってんの？もし冗談だったらかなり怒るよ。
Mion was clearly displeased. If this were a joke, it wasn't very funny. I understood how indiscreet my words were. Ever since the day before yesterday, someone had either died or vanished every night. Rika-chan and Sadako disappearing after all that was something you just couldn't say, even in jest.
みーちゃん、本当に冗談だったなら怒るんじゃなく笑おうよ。だって冗談なんだから。私たちはそれが冗談であることを確かめなくちゃいけない。
そうだね。機嫌の悪そうなことを言ってごめん。
However indiscreet a joke it may have been, if we learned that our friends were safe, it would end up as nothing more than a funny story. Having been warned about that by Rena, Mion gave a dry smile, the tension she felt loosening a bit. She mounted her bicycle as well. Our 3 bicycles' lights flashed down the pitch-black roads. There was some of the only illumination outside.
ケイちゃんはなぜ急にこんな時間にリカちゃんの家に電話なんかする気になったわけ？
Mion asked me the same thing that I had trouble explaining to Rena.
私が知らせた。じゃあおかしいか。
I couldn't quite tell because it was dark, but I thought I could see Mion smiling very ambiguously. I definitely understood that she wasn't convinced, though, despite the darkness.
うたた寝してる時に悪い夢を見ると。
ケイチ君はそれでリカちゃんがさらわれる夢を見たわけかな。
いや、もっと漠然とした予感みたいなものだよ。リカちゃんが電話に出てくれたなら、レナやミオにも続けて電話するつもりだったよ。
Lies smoothly babbled out of my mouth, makeshift though they were. I was lying because I thought telling them I was connected to Shion would be like silently admitting we'd stolen into the ritual storehouse together that night. Although the fact that he did not know that Satoko and Rika were together means that he kind of slipped up there, because Rena knows that he did not know that Satoko and Rika were together, or were living together, so that means that he called Rika first, and then he would have called Mion and Rena, but not Satoko. So they're going to be like, why'd you call Rika first then? Did you call Satoko too? I don't know, like something like that. At least if Mion isn't suspicious of that, I have a feeling Rena will be. Mion didn't press me any further. I don't know whether that convinced her. Or maybe she figured that making sure Rika-chan and Satoko were safe would be faster than making an issue out of it. I felt relieved and immediately a little guilty. Mion hadn't really been acting any differently these last few days, but I'm still trying to distance myself from her for some reason. It was only because of what I heard from Shion and Oishi-san, that she was the successor to some kind of super extravagant gang family. No. Was I just trying to force myself to forget? Don't do that, Keiichi Maibara. Wasn't it Mion who was the first to ask about the night of Watanagashi? In such a harsh tone at that. Have I already forgotten the terror I felt? At the time, Mion looked like someone different from the Mion I knew. When I think about that Mion, then Shion and Oishi-san's descriptions of Mion made a tiny bit more sense. That's it, isn't it? If it wasn't for how she acted that day, then I wouldn't be feeling this way towards her now. What on earth was going on with her back then? I was conveniently thinking only of everything she had done after that. While disregarding the very first thing, the thing I should have been looking at most, wasn't I? Mion was pedaling her bicycle in front of me, her long hair fluttering in the wind. No matter how long I looked at her back, it never gave me answers to any of my questions. We went all the way to the stone steps leading up to the shrine grounds. Of course, we weren't going to want to haul our bikes up there, so we parked them beside the staircase instead.
みんな公園みたいな感覚で勝手に出入りしてるけど、本当はここはフルデ家の立派な私有地なんだよ。
So, the entire shrine is private property. It really makes you feel the passage of time. 10 or 20 years ago, it would have looked exactly the exact same.
フルデ家って結構な旧家なんじゃないのか？代々続いた由緒ある。
ない。おかしいよ。
Rena said something clearly disquieting, so I ran over to her.
リカちゃんとサトコちゃんはいつもここに自転車を止めてるはずなの。
Okay, so the two of them went off somewhere. Question is where?
ほら、どこにもない。
I took a look around. Maybe they left a trail. Indeed, there were no other bicycles aside from the ones we'd taken to get here.
他の場所に止めてる可能性もあるんじゃない？例えば、担いで石段を上がったとか。
女の子には無理だよ、ケイチ君。
Just as she said, I couldn't imagine Rika-chan and Satoko lugging their bikes all the way up there. We hadn't yet knocked on Rika-chan's door, but reality was already sparking some ideas that weren't what you'd call good. Maybe they were just parked under some trees and we hadn't noticed them. I refused to believe that not being able to find their bikes here was proof that they'd disappeared.
家に行った方がはるかに確実だろう。
We all nodded and dashed up the stone steps. We passed through the red arch and came out onto the shrine grounds, which was covered in neat gravel. It was so quiet here, as though the Watanagashi festival had never happened.
リカちゃんたちが住んでいる家ってのはどこにあるんだ？
こっち、ついてきて。
Rena took the lead and sprinted off. We went toward the assembly hall behind the shrine, then looped around behind it. In the darkness of the night, we found a small prefab two-story shack that looked like a warehouse. Man, that is not a very nice place, but, I mean, I guess, two, orphaned children. It's not really a surprise that they would live in kind of a rundown shack.
明かり消えてるね。寝てるんじゃない？
ノックしてみよう。
Rena and Mion neared to the shack, which didn't really look like a place people would live. They had such a beautiful shrine, so I figured they'd live in an equally beautiful house. It was far from what I had expected.
リカちゃん、サトコちゃん、いる？
Rena shouted up toward the second floor. Also, just one little thing nagging at the back of my head is how Rena knew that I called, or that Keiichi called Rika. I mean, it's natural to assume that that's why he would be panicking like that, but, I mean, I don't know. Just the way she said it, like, you called Rika, right? I don't know. It feels like maybe she has been listening in on his calls. Her voice was restrained at first, but it steadily grew louder. But if she had been, then why would she be, leisurely taking a bath? I don't know. No answer. In fact, there wasn't any sort of activity in the house at all.
寝てるのかもしれない。起こしてみよう。
Mion banged on the shutter with both hands, and the loud sounds echoed into our surroundings. They would have to notice this much noise. They would turn on the light in the room, fling open the windows, and yell, "What time do you think it is?" That, however, wasn't happening. There were absolutely no responses. Mion stopped slamming her fists on the shutter, and a sudden silence fell over us. The silence aroused terrible thoughts in us. I could feel the blood draining from my face.
鍵かかってる。どこかから中に入れないかな。
I have been thinking, though, that I really kind of appreciate the way that Keiichi in this episode, compared to the previous one, or the previous chapter, or whatever. In this one, he's a lot more a part of the group, it feels like. Like, last time, he was kind of left out a lot more. Whereas this time, I think that... I don't know. I think the fact that, they did not witness him, like, being interrogated by Oishi has played a big part in them not just, like, suddenly treating Keiichi like some stranger. Rena showed no signs of stopping. It didn't look like she would admit they weren't there until we went inside and saw for ourselves. I really hope that it's not going to be, like, covered in blood or anything. That refusal to give in gave me strength.
2階の窓とか鍵をかけ忘れてないかな。俺ちょっと試してみる。
ケイちゃん、はしご。
Mion brought over a ladder that was standing against the house. The footing was a little unstable for me to be climbing it, but Mion held the ladder firmly in place for me. I hadn't climbed too many ladders. My inexperience with them exposed, I climbed one step at a time and tried to open each window on the second floor.
みーちゃん、私念のため本宅の方も見てくるね。すぐ戻るから。
Rena darted away. What, a main house?
フルデ家の本当の家だよ。両親が亡くなって以来、ずっと放置してあるそうだけど。
あ、そうか。リカちゃんのご両親って亡くなってるんだよな。
At that point, I recalled something else. Wasn't Satoko living here too?
サトコも親なしだよ。親代様のたたりってことで、両親が崖から落っこちてね。
I think that's the first time Mion actually talked about Oyashida-sama's curse openly in front of
お
Keiichi.
兄さんだったサトシ君もいなくなっちゃって。
サトシって前に聞いた名前だな。
Oh? She's gonna say, where did you hear that before? But if he's smart, then he'll say, I heard people in class talking about it because he did. I remembered. He was the one who disappeared last year because of the curse.
それ以来、サトコはリカちゃんと一緒にこの小屋で暮らしてるんだよ。互いに身寄りのない一人ぼっち同士。助け合ってね。
本宅って言ったか？そっちで暮らした方が楽だろうに。
The curtains were drawn, so I couldn't get a good look inside to see, but two young girls living together seemed like a pretty tough
そ
life.
れはそうしてたみたい。でも、両親を思い出すから辛いって言って。
I had no idea. I feel really bad for them. They were normally so cheerful at school that I never even realized an atom of
リカちゃ
this.
んもサトコも大変なんだな。
呪われてるんだよ。
Suddenly, Mion said something in such a low voice that it sounded like she was really cursing someone, and I didn't let it slide. I turned around on the ladder to face her and asked again.
お前、今なんて言った？
呪われてるって言ったの。
Mion, still holding onto the ladder, brought her head up to look me in the eyes. As soon as our eyes met, an absolute zero jolt of electricity surged through my body. Mion's eyes clouded over, and within them boiled and bubbled a stew of chaos. They whirled around and raging like a raging sea. They whirled around and around like a raging sea, and bubbles floated to the surface. I I had at some point been trapped on this ladder, like being cornered on a dead-end street.
ミオお前なんて顔してんだよ
I intended to follow that up with "you're going too far with this joke" and give her a forced smile. However, on such uneven footing as I was, the only thing that came out of my mouth was a hoarse groan as I desperately struggled to not let nausea overwhelm me.
王女里子はね、お社様のたたりを一身に受けた呪われた子なの。
Mion answers with a response to something I never asked, as if replying to somebody else's
公
question.
園の展望台から転落死したのは両親だけ。あの子をミソッカス扱いしてた冷たい両親だけが死んで、あの子は一人だけ助かった。
So apparently, she did not like her parents. More motive to be the killer.
引き取り先であの子をいじめたおばは、綿流しの夜に異常者に脳みそがぐっちゃぐちゃに飛び散って頭が原型をとどめないくらいにめった打ちにされて殺された。
That one is a bit curious because it wasn't her that time. And that's like verifiable in some way because somebody else took credit for it. But I don't know if that guy was just crazy or taking credit for a thing that he didn't do or what, but I don't know.
いつもあの子をかばってたサトシ君もあの子の誕生日に突然消えてしまった。
On her birthday, not on the Watanagashi. Interesting.
あの子をいじめていなかったのに消されてしまった。警察は家出したんだって決めつけたけど、サトシ君は逃げ出すような人じゃなかった。いつも一生懸命。誰の力も借りずにコツコツと一人懸命に努力する人だった。たった一人の妹のために身を粉にして頑張ってたのに消されてしまった。
Well, we're getting actually a lot of characterization for Satoko here. And also Satoshi. We're kind of getting a better idea of what he was like.
あの子のためにだけに生きていたのに消されてしまった。かわいそうなサトシ君。
It's weird though, Mion has said in the past that she doesn't believe in Oyashido-sama. And here, she's kind of saying someone made her disappear. As if that's saying that she... or that she doesn't think that it was the doing of Oyashido-sama as well, so... I feel like, even though she said that she thinks that Satoko is cursed, I think she's saying that in a more, like, almost, like, poetic sense.
なんて報われないサトシ君。なんて恩知らずなあの子なの。あの子は呪われた子。あの子に近づけば、それが誰でも末路は同じ。たたりで死ぬか、たたりで消えるか。あの子に安らぎなんてあるものか。あの子に安らぎなんてあるものか。リカちゃんが消えたのもきっとサトコのせいだよ。違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない違いない。
Mion was mumbling words over and over that were no longer coherent. Her shoulders were trembling so hard that I could feel it through the ladder. I almost lost my footing, which made me realize just how far away the ground really was.
落ち着けよミオ何のことを言ってるのかわからないよ
I wasn't sure if she even heard me. Mion rocked back and forth, and that rocking and trembling was becoming even more violent. Help me. The ladder. It's falling. Help me. Help. Just then, I heard the sound of many people running toward us.
ここだ
I very nearly said help me outright. 4 or 5 adults, led by Rena, ran over here with flashlights.
ケイチ君、みーちゃん、遅れてごめんね。鍵借りてきたよ。
お、助かったね。どうも窓も戸締まりは完璧らしくてね。困ってた。
When I heard Mion talking like nothing had just happened, I again felt a chill run through me. The person currently holding the ladder in place, it was definitely Mion. I feel like almost though that was not Mion trying to intimidate us there. That was her, like, her way of, like, confiding in us almost. It's very different from the first time around. It was the real Mion Sonozaki. Then, a person muttering to themselves just a few seconds ago. Who was that? A person who was mumbling about terrible things like curses. Who was that? I jumped down from the ladder as if running away before Mion turned into that person who wasn't Mion a second time. The adults tried a few different keys on a keyring as they tried to open the big shutter on the first floor.
リカちゃんの家はね、もともとは町会の防災倉庫だったの。だからシャッターの鍵を今でも村長さんの家が預かってるの。
今ではリカちゃんとサトコの指定だけど、まあもともとリカちゃんの家の敷地内だし、誰も文句は言わないけどね。
Mion gave me a smile as she said that. I, however, could only return her gaze with an aghast expression. Mion was acting all too normal now, but that only contrasted all the more sharply with her earlier un-Mion-like creepiness. Banging, bamming, clattering, banging. The shutter opened up for the first time in a very long while. Rana located the light switch and wasted no time going inside. I followed her in. We climbed a narrow staircase. It had looked like nothing more than a warehouse, but now that I was inside, I could feel how lived in it was. It was a person's home. Somehow, the scent of the two of them filled the place. This was definitely where Rika-chan and Satoko lived. The first floor doubled as a town assembly warehouse, but the second floor was a space entirely for living. Just like a one-room apartment, past the kitchen was a living room taking about 150 square feet. Dressers, cupboards, and the like were packed into the space, and in the corner there was a huge pile of clothes that appeared to have just been taken in from drying outside. In the center of the living room was a fold-up table, and on it were small containers for things like soy sauce and salad dressing. A sense of frugal lifestyle drifted from all of it. The sense of a frugal lifestyle. Sorry, I'm just trying to listen to the music. It was strange that they weren't here in the middle of the night like this. The adults, climbing these stairs one at a time, began to make a fuss and talk amongst themselves.
どう？やっぱりいない？
いない。絶対おかしい。
The village had just been thrown into chaos yesterday because of the mayor's disappearance. Then today, even Rika-chan and Satoko had... Were they out playing somewhere together? That can't be. Their bicycles aren't here, though. Where would they have gone so late at night? Have they just not come back yet? Where did they go? The adults put forth various possibilities, and the house immediately devolved into a state of confusion. Eventually, Mion settled them down.
信じたくないけど、君吉の村長さんが消えたのが昨日の今日。無関係とは言い切れないね。
The adults' faces paled at Mion's declaration. Mai and Rena's did as well. Also, interestingly enough, that Mion is announcing it as if she's not involved. Like, it seems like even in the last episode, it seemed like she would talk about things as if she wasn't involved. So that's interesting. But I don't know. It seems like one group is responsible for the killings. Maybe a different person each time, I don't know. And someone else is responsible for the sacrifices. The question is... who, I guess? I don't know.
例えば、ご近所に行ってお茶でもごちそうになって眠っちゃって、起こすに起こせなくなってるなんて可能性ももちろんあるよね。その可能性をまず潰そう。牧野さんは裏手から沢のあたりの家を回ってください。 慶太郎さんはおじゃがい家の方。岡村さんは。
So she's really taking charge here. Mion promptly gave directions to the villagers. The adults followed them without hesitation, despite her age.
私はここに残って電話で片っ端から心当たりに問い合わせてみます。じゃあ皆さん、そういうことで。
Got it. The adults all roared in reply and pounded back down the stairs below.
さすがみーちゃんだね。みーちゃんは学校だけじゃなく、ひなみ沢の委員長さんみたいだよね。
茶化さない茶化さない。ほらどいて。おじさんは電話を使うんだから。
Mion grinned proudly, took the receiver, and got started. Rena gave Mion a trusting look, considering her dependable for doing all of this. My feelings, though, well, they were a little more complicated, since her leadership seemed to be affirming the Sonozaki family successor impression that Shion and Oishi-san had given me. It's really weird and complicated. I don't really know how to read it, really. Like, it seems like she's definitely not uninvolved in all of this, but I don't think she's directly involved. I don't know. It's really hard to figure out what exactly is going on. Stop right there, Keiichi Maibara. None of that matters right now. The most important thing is to make sure Rika-chan and Sadako are safe. Let's see, couldn't there be a clue hinting at where they might have gone somewhere in this room?
とはいえ、そんなのわかるはずもないよな。
If we tore the whole place apart and figured out what was different from before, we might be able to speculate, but there was nothing strange about this room, and there were no clues in sight. In the first place, I had never been here before. There was no way for me to know what was different if I didn't know how the room usually looked. Hey, don't give up, Keiichi Maibara. Stop thinking and start looking. For something. In search of something, I tried pulling open the dresser drawers and opened the windows. I didn't uncover anything meaningful, though. Rena, also unable to stand around doing nothing, was looking around the room like I was.
冷蔵庫や流しの下の棚とかを開いても、リカちゃんは見つからないと思うぞ。
隠れてるかなって思って。
Hiding in the refrigerator, I would hope not. I wonder, there was a certain year when there was a law passed where refrigerators had to close via magnets. They couldn't close via anything that couldn't be opened from the inside, because kids would hide inside refrigerators and die in them. So, because they couldn't get out. So, yeah. At least we would know that if somebody was hiding in the refrigerator, depending on when that happened, I think it was in like the 50s though, so probably way before this game. Then she could at least get out on her own. As we were searching, it got noisy outside. Villagers were quickly assembling here, having heard the commotion. Of course, a lot of them were probably people Mion had called.
私、みんなに話をしてくる。遅かれ、警察も来るだろうしね。大石のやつにも事情を説明しなきゃ。
Mion began descending the stairs, and we followed her out to the front of the house. There were already around 10 adults there. And all of them looked uneasy. I suddenly noticed that the old people from the shrine were here as well, and they were praying for Rika-chan's safety, rubbing their prayer beads. This had gotten bad. This wasn't just a problem between friends anymore. The villagers all formed a ring around Mion, swarming her. Mion raised her right hand as if silently telling them to calm down.
誰かの家にお邪魔していないか、町会の回覧区分に沿って全校をまず調べよう。本人たちがこっちの気も知らずに、誰かの家ですやすやとお泊まりしてる可能性もあるわけだからね。
It would definitely be hard for someone to wake up Rika-chan if she had eaten a good full meal and fallen asleep like a kitten afterwards. Oh, how nice it would be if that were the case.
こんなことは考えたくないけど、もちろん悪いことが起こった可能性もある。
Mion's face grew remarkably more grim, and a wave of silence washed over the adults.
我々も手分けしよう。昨夜の村長探しで回ったところをもう一度回る。
俺たちはダム現場をよく念入りに探してみる。お前さんたちは学校のあたりを探してみてくれ。
Somehow I get the feeling they're going to be at the school, although I really hope not.
どうしたらはよ回らんと。行こう行こ
みんな昨日も村長さん探しで徹夜だったからね。寝不足で辛いだろうけど、どうかよろしく。
With that as their signal, the adults scattered in every direction. I figured I should scatter somewhere as well, so I started walking unsteadily in a direction no one else had gone in. I was getting farther and farther from people. I didn't feel scared or anything, though. If someone were made to disappear, Shion and I should be first. It would have been perfectly normal for me to be scared of the dark. However, I didn't feel that way. Why was that? It was because tonight, someone had already disappeared. So nobody else would disappear tonight. It would take some time before I, exhausted as I was, would feel guilt at the cause of my own selfish sense of relief. Suddenly, my vision cleared and a cold wind caressed my body. This was the hill from which you could see the whole village. Looking down from this hill, I could see lights on here and there, and knew that the entire village had awoken from its slumber. First Takano-san and Tomitake-san, then the mayor, and now even Rika-chan and Satoko had been sacrificed, and word of it was spreading everywhere. The strength in my knees left me. Right now, I don't think that Satoko is the one who was sacrificed. I think she's the one doing the sacrificing. Like, at the beginning of this whole series, I said that I had seen clips in the past. And it was a very, very long time ago, so I barely remember them at all. And it was completely without context. But I think the clips that I saw may have involved people who looked like Satoko and Rika, potentially either dying or getting killed or killing someone or something. There being a lot of gore and blood involved. So, while I don't remember exactly what that was, I feel like that might be something that could come into play here. And that's not something that I'm looking forward to. If anything, I'm looking forward to... I mean, if that does happen, I'm looking forward to the episode ending and us going back to the beginning of the next one, if that does happen. So, this could no longer be a joke. We could have found them. Mion would have told me I was a worrywart. Rena would just be glad we did. They would have smiled at me. My hopes disappeared as if I were awakening from a dream. That was what the view I could see was telling me. Following my knees, my arms both bent forward onto the ground, and I clawed at it with my nails. See, in order for a thing like that to happen, though, a thing, like a scene of, like, someone dying gruesomely, and that being either Mion or Satoko or both, then I feel like we would have to see that, right? We would have to be there to see that, so that means that it would have to be a situation where Keiichi is also present. After that, I guess if it's a clip from the anime, then I don't know if they necessarily have to stick to exactly what Keiichi is seeing all the time, so maybe not, but I don't know. I should just stop thinking about that, because it's not really something that... It's just, the more things kind of start to get... Or the more things start to go this way, the more, like, vague things that I may have seen before start to, like, kind of become less vague, I guess. But, I don't know. We'll see. I couldn't figure out if I was feeling sorrow or frustration. I couldn't endure the burden of my own sin, and I had just told Rika-chan about it. They had nothing to do with it, but Rika-chan and even Satoko had been sacrificed. It was like a cross that Shion and I would each have to bear the weight of until we ourselves were erased. Yeah, I like how he's keeping in mind the possibility that that's not it for him. Well, if I'm going that far, then the problem started long before that. My original sin of breaking taboo and entering the ritual storehouse without asking. I knew I shouldn't have gone in there from the start. Yet I lost out to cheap curiosity. I hadn't felt so angry at myself until this very moment. There was a crunching sound. I wasn't even interested in who made the noise, despondent as I was.
Ch2? Ch2? 大丈夫?
It was Rena. Perhaps my clawing at the ground made it look as though I was having some stomach pains. She ran over and rubbed my back like she was trying to make me feel better.
全部悪いんだ。俺のせいで。俺のせいで。
圭一くんが？何も悪いわけはないよ。自分をどうか責めないでね。
I could tell Rena was doing her best to choose the right words out of consideration for me. That's why I could sense her intent behind those words. Keiichi-kun, you know why Rika-chan and Satoko-chan disappeared, don't you? Is that what she really meant to say? Or is what she really meant to say? Because it was an emergency, Rena had ignored the reason why I wanted to make sure Rika-chan was safe, but now that we'd actually confirmed her disappearance, it was only natural. Rena would start to wonder about why. However, with the situation having gone this far, I couldn't possibly tell her now. I didn't want to admit that Rika-chan and Satoko had disappeared, but I couldn't let Rena disappear either.
Keiichi-kun, こんな風通しのいいところにずっといたら風邪ひいちゃう。
Rena sat down, bringing her eyes level with mine.
子供たちはね、もう解散して家で寝ろって。
Rena showed me her watch as she said that. It was long past 1 in the morning. Time was passing too quickly. Had I been crawling around here for that long?
もう寝ないと明日の学校に差し支えるよ。大人たちだって昨べも一晩中村長さんを探したからみんなクタクタ。今夜は少し早めに解散するって。
I was a little upset that they weren't allotting as much time to this as they had to search for the mayor last night, but that was something I, the cause of everything, had no right to criticize them for.
大丈夫。さっきね、警察の人も来たの。今、どんどん町から応援のパトカーが来てるよ。
Hearing that remark, I looked down at the village to see that there were indeed more cars than one would normally expect at this hour, coming from the darkness on the other side of the mountain. However, none of their emergency lights were on. Of course, their sirens weren't wailing either. Because they don't want it to be a big deal, they kind of want to keep it on the down low, and they're probably going to suppress this information. That's right. All of the incidents that occurred right after the Watanagashi were seen as the product of Oyashida-sama's curse and would be handled in secrecy. Rika-chan and Satoko, too. Their disappearance would end up exactly like the other serial incidents in the past. Surreptitious, unresolved, declared a mystery, and disappeared from memory. Rika-chan's face, her sweet face like a Western doll's, would fade away. Satoko's smile, her energetic fanged smile, would fade away. The more I tried to remember them, the less I would be able to. I deserved to be called an idiot dozens of times over, but it wouldn't be enough. I couldn't hold back the tears at my own sheer stupidity.
圭一君が何を自分に責めているかわからないけれど、もうやめよう。
I wasn't about to deny it. I couldn't. Even so, I couldn't affirm it either. I wanted to at least keep Rena out of this. If she found out, she would become involved.
レナ、放っておいてくれないか。俺きっと家に帰ったって眠れない。
If I couldn't get to sleep, then I at least wanted to search for Rika-chan and Satoko until I collapsed. The entire village was looking, and yet they still hadn't been found. I don't think I'd be able to find them if I went looking alone at this point. Still, I had to do it.
消えてしまったんだ。他の探してくれてる人たちよりも先になんか眠れるものか。
I'd said that to myself in self-deprecation, but I soon realized that Rena was silently trying to find the meaning in my mumblings. I realized I had misspoke.
圭一君のせいなの？どうしてそう思うのかな？
That can't be. Keiichi-kun, you're not at fault. I was happy that Rena said these things to me, but she only did so because she didn't know the truth. And honestly, I don't know how she would react at this point if he said it. I feel like, would we see the Rena from last time, or would we see, I don't know, a different side of Rena? If she knew that everything had been caused by my breaking taboo on the night of the Watanagashi, then even Rena would curse my existence. However, I can't even allow for those curses. That would mean confessing my own crimes to Rena. If I spilled even one word of having snuck into the ritual storehouse on the night of the Watanagashi, then even Rena could disappear tomorrow night. A gentle, spirited, always joking, always howling. But at a time like this, the most dependable person in the world, Rena, might disappear. I don't want that. Anything but that. This time, I need to bear my own cross. Alone.
圭一君がとても仲間思いだって知ってるから、自分を傷つけたくなる気持ちもよくわかるよ。だけど、レナは圭一君のせいじゃないって知ってる。圭一君が悪くないって知ってるから。
And it feels like that's how it has to be. It's like Rena's saying, even if you did do something wrong, we have to proceed like you didn't, because that's how things need to be. I don't know. The shivering in my veins rushed up my back and replaced the sorrow in my heart with fear. I didn't tell her anything, did I? Maybe I accidentally said something that caused Rena to figure it out. This is bad. Now Rena will disappear. Rena will disappear. Rena will disappear. Then Rena, the same way I always did, grabbed my head and began to pet it roughly.
圭一君、ひょっとしてレナも消えちゃうかもしれないって思ってるのかな。お社様のたたりで。
She puts more force into the hand rubbing my head.
だったら安心して。レナは消えたりしないよ。絶対に。
どうして消えないなんて自信を持って言えるんだよ。
I mean, someone's been sacrificed every night so far. There was no proof that it wouldn't happen again tomorrow night. There was even less proof, after all, that the sacrifice wouldn't be Rena. I don't care who you are. Just please, if you're gonna erase someone, erase me first. Please, stop cruelly getting rid of people we're close to. Like the mayor for Shion and Rika-chan and Satoko for me. Well, mainly Rika. We'll say that Satoko's an afterthought. I'm still not convinced that she's actually going to be missing, because the numbers don't add up. Shion's hysterical shouting came back to mind. They must be planning to kill us last of all. They're not killing the first people who come to mind. They start by killing those we're close to, then After they've caused us so much pain, they'll kill us. That must be what they're doing.
レナ
Please don't disappear. Please don't, as long as I'm still here. I can no longer conceal these sobs welling up within me.
ほら、ケイチ君に涙なんか似合わないよ。みんなのところに行こう。婦人会の人たちがね、お味噌汁の炊き出しをしてくれてるの。飲むと温まって落ち着くよ。
Rena prompted me to stand. I didn't have the energy to oppose her, so I stood as she urged me to. We returned to the shrine grounds to find several gas stoves there with miso soup in big pots. The many villagers there sipped at the soup they were given in dead, stony silence. Their expressions were absolutely exhausted. Everyone had just been running around the village until a little while ago. From the dreary looks on their faces, though, I assumed they hadn't come up with anything yet.
ケイちゃん、どこ行ってたんだよ。ケイちゃんまでいなくなったのかと心配したよ。
すまん
Mion held out some miso soup for me, but I refused the offer. I didn't have much of an appetite.
みーちゃん、どう？何か手がかりはあった？
Mion took a sip of her soup, her expression frank.
全然ない。学校が終わってから家に帰って、二人で自転車に乗ってどこかに行ったらしい。しかも、二人が自転車に乗った姿は全く目撃されていないし。
When it gets dark out in Hinamizawa, people quickly vanish from the streets. Aside from adults hurrying back home from town in cars or on bicycles, it was normal to see absolutely nobody walking around outside. It wasn't at all strange that nobody had seen Rika-chan and Sadako riding their bikes.
昨日の村長の時と同じ。お手上げだよ。
Mion's apathetic tone pricked my nerves, but that anger quickly subsided. She'd been doing all sorts of things to try and find Rika, until just a second ago. If I asked her, she'd probably say she was up all night last night too, looking for the mare, wouldn't she? She must have been far more fatigued than I was. Besides, what about me? I'd spent the time hunched over in indecision all alone. I had no right to say anything about Mion.
ケイちゃんも辛いだろうけど今夜はこれで休もう。さっき今夜は解散しようってなったところだよ。これを飲んだらもう終わりにしよう。
終わりなのか？
あ、もちろん終わりじゃないよ。明るくなったら警察も増援を入れて徹底的に探すってさ。沖宮の方に行ってる可能性もあるからね。村長の件も含めて獅子骨市全体で目撃情報がないか洗うって言ってる。それよりもケイちゃんだよ。どこに行ってたんだい？いつの間にかいなくなっちゃうから心配したんだよ。
Suddenly I was on the receiving end, but I didn't have the willpower to respond.
気をつけるよ。
何もなかった。怪しい人に監視されてるとか付け狙われてるとかそういうのはなかった？
Mion demanded with a serious expression. No, just Rena, who, debatably, you could argue, is kind of someone suspicious spying on and stalking him, but maybe not this time around. I was being criticized for how inconsiderate I had been, despite being in so much pain. I was frustrated that I was being criticized, but it was my sin. My sin, and I must bear it alone.
ないよ。でも気をつける。すまん。
Mion, now aware that nothing had happened, heaved a big sigh with her shoulders, looking relieved.
おやおやおや、美味しい匂いが漂ってくると思ったら。
We really don't need this right now.
これはぜひご商売に預かりたいですね。
I feel like he's just gonna be a shit disturber here. He's gonna stir shit up when it doesn't need to be. We heard the repulsive voice of a fat man. It was Oishi-san, trailed by a handful of police officers. He was acting energetically in a way unfitting given the situation.
大して残ってないですよ。それでもよければ勝手にどうぞ。
Mion didn't like Oishi-san very much. Her cold attitude, though, didn't seem to bother Oishi-san in the slightest. It was like splashing water in a frog's face.
ありゃりゃ。味噌汁のお残りってちょっと塩分高めなんですよね。参ったな。君たちはいただきます？
He recommended it to his subordinates, but everyone gave dry smiles and refused. I really hope we're not eating Rika-chan here right now. That would be messed up.
どうですか？警察の方では何か手がかりはつかめましたか？
But I don't think miso soup has meat in it. I could be wrong on that. I think like miso is like a type of rice or something. I don't know. Anyway, I don't think it has meat in it. Rena's smile was warm enough to replace the miso soup.
大丈夫ですよ、お嬢さん。ご安心、ご安心。ちゃんと探してるんですから。
He didn't say a word about having found any new clues. In other words, there had been no progress. That sure was an annoying way of beating around the bush.
それよりも、もう本当に遅い時間です。どうぞ若い皆さんはお帰りになってお休みになってください。体に触りますよ。
そうだよ。ケイちゃんもレナも今日はもう休みな。あとは税金で働いてるおっさんたちがやってくれるから。
私たちだって税金払ってるんですけどね。蕎麦屋さんが自分の作った蕎麦食ってるみたいな気分ですよ。な。
I really wasn't in the mood for laughter. In fact, Oishi-san was the only one laughing like an idiot.
じゃあ本当によろしくお願いしますね。帰ろう、ケイチ君。明日が辛くなるよ。
そうです、そうです。なんならお二人をお送りしてもいいですよ。まあじゃあ車を回してあげてください。
あ、結構です。俺たち自転車で来てるんで。
ご安心を。私たちワゴン車で来てますから自転車も積めますよ。
We may have gotten pretty sleepy, but we just needed to ride home at this point. I didn't want to bother the police like that. Rena, however, nodded.
せっかくだからお世話になろうよ。
That's not good. I really don't want him interrogating both Rena and Keiichi together.
私たちだけで帰るよりきっと安全だよ。
When I thought about it carefully, I realized that Rena's idea was extremely rational.
そうと決まれば行きましょう行きましょう。
じゃあね。おやすみ。レナもケイちゃんも。
うん。みーちゃんも早めに休んでね。おやすみ。
I waved my hand as well, saying goodbye. Rika-chan and Satoko still hadn't been found. My unease, however, was steadily being pushed away by sleepiness. Rena showed the police where our bicycles were so that Oishi-san could haul them up into their truck. He prompted us to get into the back seat. I could hear the springs squeaking as I sat down onto a seat that would normally hurt my rear end. But at this point it was very soft and was more than comfortable enough for me to fall asleep on.
レディーファーストでお嬢さんの家から行きましょう。住所はどちらです？
ありがとうございます。
And that also means that there's going to be a period where Keiichi's going to be alone in the car with Oishi.
私の家はですね、
Then his voice slowly grew distant. I felt myself being sucked into the void of sleep.
もしもし、前原さん。完全に眠っちゃってますか？
When I came to, it was quiet. The car was parked. Oishi-san was giving me light slaps to the cheek. Didn't feel good at all, so I woke up immediately.
すみません。すっかり寝込んじゃって。
Something was being held right under my nose. A clump of metal. It was a can of coffee.
古いですがね、甘いカフェオレなら常温でも結構飲めますよ。
I don't feel like having coffee at night is the best idea, especially when right before you're about to go home and sleep.
どうも。
I mechanically took the can and opened the pull top, but I feel like he's only feeding him that because he wants him not to go to sleep and he wants to get some answers out of him. The feeling of the warm, sweet liquid going down my throat awakened my sleepy mind. When my drowsiness receded, I started wanting to know why the car was stopped and why I was offered coffee. Oishi-san, who had been in the driver's seat, had at some point moved to the back. Suddenly, I had a very bad feeling about this. It reminded me of the questioning yesterday at the library. It was already too late by the time I realized I'd made a mistake. Today, of all days, it didn't look like I would be getting away. I had a feeling that until Oishi-san heard what he wanted to, he wouldn't be letting me go.
そんなに構えられても困ります。別に取って食おうってわけじゃないんですから。前原さん。
Oishi-san gulped down the last of his coffee, then stretched wide, showing me how relaxed he was. That, however, only served to heighten my nervousness.
俺にまた何の用ですか？
よう。いえいえ、別に別に。
You're going to evade the question at this point. What a deeply unreadable man.
私からは用はないんですが、前原さんから私に用があるんじゃないかと思いましてね。
別に用なんかないです。
ありゃあ、本当にあるんじゃないですか？
There was only one side door in the back seat of this truck. In other words, my only exit was blocked off by Oishi-san. I couldn't get away. I could only limply hang my head and maintain my silence. Oishi-san, despite my reticence, relaxed and began smoking a cigarette. The cries of the insects outside seemed to be growing longer and longer to an amount of time that almost seemed infinite.
前原さんから相談したいことがきっとあったと思ってたんですけどね。
Oishi-san exhaled a puff of smoke. The windows were open, but the tobacco smoke still accumulated inside the vehicle. How much did Oishi-san know? What did he know, and what did he want to hear from me? If finding out the truth made you disappear, then if I told him, would Oishi-san disappear too? You know, somehow I almost doubt it. I feel like Oishi-san might actually be involved in this somehow. I don't know. I am pretty suspicious of him in certain ways, but I don't know that that's necessarily murderer suspicious or suspicious of him in a different way. I don't know. But there's something going on with him, and I don't know what. I had a feeling that I didn't need to worry about that in this case, or in his case.
どうしてこんなことになっちゃったんでしょうね。
Oishi-san addressed me in a low tone as if he was talking to himself. How all this ended up happening. How the hell should I know? That was what I wanted to know.
竹次郎さんと高野美代さん、お祭りの時、園崎志音さんを含めて4人で一緒におられたのを私がこの目で拝見してますから。その富武さんと高野さん、今どうしておられるかご存知ですか？実は お亡くなりになってましてね。気の毒な死に方でした。
Oishi-san probably played that card in order to surprise me. However, I already knew, and didn't display the extreme reaction he expected.
ひょっとしてご存知でした？
Unfortunately, for this question in particular, remaining silent was equivalent to saying yes.
こっちもご存知かな。富武さんと高野さんがたたりに遭われた理由の方です。なんでもですね、入っちゃいけない禁断の建物に入ったからだって言われてるんですよ。
The storehouse for ritual implements. That forbidden shed, sealing away Hinamizawa's blood-stained past. Where the mistake that started it all happened.
村長さんや古出里香さんもそのせいでたたりに遭われたんだという噂はご存知で？
That would mean it was mine and Shion's fault. I mean, it kind of wouldn't also, though, because I feel like those two were the ones who switched the lock, so they might be thinking that they're the ones who are more responsible. I don't know. Like, they might have been targeted even if they weren't told anything. I don't know. He was right. As soon as we revealed what we did...
あそこの鍵を簡易なものに付け替えたから賊に入られたんだっていうケチがついてるらしいんですよ。
What? This was news to me. Well, Keiichi, you should start reading the tips.
一昨年くらいまでは西宮殿にはでっかい缶抜きとでっかい錠前がいくつも付けられていたらしいんですよ。ところがほら、神主夫妻がお亡くなりになられて、今は古出里香さんが切り盛りされてるでしょ。缶抜きが重くて大変だから、もっと軽い簡単な錠前に付け替えてほしいと村長さんに相談したらしいんですよ。
I didn't know anything about those big bars he was talking about, but the lock had certainly been a simple one. It was a pretty cheap one too, and it didn't really fit my impression of what a lock for a place you'd store something as important as ritual implements would look like.
リカさんはあの通り、子が錆びついて重くなった缶抜きはしんどかったんでしょうな。で、村長さんが職人を手配して簡単な南京錠で鍵ができるように付け替えたんだそうです。
それがどうしてケチがつくことになるんですか？
つまりですね、前の厳重な錠前なら賊には忍び込まれなかった。村長さんとリカさんが勝手に安っぽい鍵に変えたから賊に破られたんだ。
Although I don't know how they would have opened it before, like without a key? I don't know. Like, was it just like a better lock that couldn't be picked or what? I don't know.
と、こういう話らしいんですよ。
そんな話。
そういう話がまかり通ってて、一部の村人たちが西宮殿に忍び込んだ賊と賊に破られるような鍵に変えた村長とリカさんを罰したんだ。なんて話があったりなかったりしてるんですよ。相原さん、どう思います？
どう思うって、その一部の村人ってのもよくわからないし。
御三家ってご存知ですかな？渡長市のお祭りの開会式典で各家の代表がそれぞれ挨拶をなさってるでしょ？見ていません？
祭りには途中から来たから。
御三家ってのはひなみ沢の旧家の3つの家のことなんです。具体的に言うと君吉家、園崎家、古出家の3つのことです。本当に古い家筋らしくてね、大昔から村の決め事は御三家が合議して決めるんだと言われてます。
The Kimiyoshi family, Old Man Kimiyoshi, meaning the mayor's family. The Sonozaki family was Mion's. I mean, I guess it's only natural for him to suspect the Sonozaki family when members of the Kimiyoshi and the Furude family go missing. So, the Furude family was Rika-chan's family then.
家が戦後に一気に勢力を拡大しましてね、例のダム闘争で 反ダムの旗頭になってからは事実上ひなみ沢を牛耳るトップに躍り出ました。でもですね、古いしきたりに従い今でも重要な村の方針は御三家で合議して決めているんだそうです。だから渡流しの開会挨拶も御三家の当主がそれぞれなさるんですよ。つまり村長と園崎家の現当主のおばあ様、そして古出家の最後の一人リカさんです。
園崎家が大した家柄だという話は聞かされてたけど、リカちゃんの家もそういう旧家だったのか。
まあご存知の通り親族は全くおられませんから。古出家は事実上全く勢力を持ちませんがね。ただリカさん個人には求心力があるようで、村のお年寄りには盲信する方が多いと聞いています。
It was certainly true that Rika-chan had an odd sort of charisma amongst the elderly.
で、その御三家ってのが何だって言うんですか？
Oishi-san paused for emphasis, lighting another cigarette.
ここまで説明してもまだ説明が足りませんかね。
わからないから聞いてるんです。
Oishi gave me a dry, meaningful grin and blew out another big puff of smoke.
御三家の人間が相次いで消されてるんです。どういうわけかね。ひなみ沢の内側の古い因習か何かに基づいているんじゃないかと読んでいるんですが。
そんなの俺にだってさっぱりです。
ですから君吉家古出家の当主が消えたんですから、次は園崎家の当主が消えるんじゃないかな。
So, Mion's grandmother. I wonder. But you're kind of ignoring Satoko and, what's his face? Tomitake and, Takano in all of this.
なんて思ったり思わなかったりしたりする今日この頃、いかがお過ごしでしょうか。なんちゃって。
園崎家の当主って誰だよ。
当主は園崎本家のおばあちゃんなんですが、実質上の当主権限はもう孫娘のミオンさんに移行していると見て間違いないでしょうね。
The visage of Mion giving prompt directions to the adults while searching for Rika-chan sprung back to mind. I hadn't even thought of that possibility. All my hair stood on end. That's insane.
当たり前だ。そんなの許せるものか。
Clamp. Oishi-san grabbed my shoulders with both hands.
協力を、前原さん。園崎ミオンさんについて最近気づいたこと、何でもいいから話してください。
I was going along with him. By the time I'd realized it, it was too late. Oishi-san brought his face in closer, almost close enough to ram into me, waiting for my next words. This pressure. I can't tear my eyes away from his. In that moment, I heard a beeping sound. It was from the driver's seat. He ignored it at first, but then it started to bother him, so he finally let go of me and leaned into the driver's seat. I was saved. Of course, it's not like I could escape through this opening. Apparently, he was being recalled. Now that I knew I'd be freed, the tension in my body dissipated all at once. Oishi-san flung open the door, exited, and walked around to the front of the driver's seat. He left the door open. That mean I could leave?
友人のことを警察に喋ると、なんだか裏切っているような気持ちになるのをよくわかっていますよ。 前原さん、一晩差し上げますから、ゆっくりお休みになってよく考えてくださいね。前原さんのほんのちょっとの勇気が結局大勢の友人を救うことにつながるかもしれないのです。
Did he want to say that these sacrifices wouldn't stop with Rika-chan and Satago?
分かってると思いますが、綿流し以降、毎晩何かが起こります。これまでは毎年1回だったたたりが本当に景気のいい年です。
そんなの景気がいいなんて言いません。
おととい、昨日、そして今日、明日の晩も起こらないなんて保証。それを未然に防ぐのが私たちの仕事ですが、それには前原さんの協力が不可欠なんです。
I get the feeling that if anybody's gonna disappear or die tomorrow night, it'll be Keiji, probably, just going by how things ended off last time. But then again, would they do that again? I don't know. I looked out the open door to see none other than my own house right in front of me. It creeped me out that he knew my name and address, but I was too sleepy right now. He might have gotten it from Rina. I was too sleepy to care.
今日はもう眠いでしょう。もう3時になりますからね。どうぞごゆっくりお休みになってください。
はい。では、失礼します。
When I was about to get out of the truck as if to deliver a parting blow, Oishi-san said in a raised voice.
私、前原さんが話す気になってくれるまで毎日来ちゃいますからね。
Really? So, he's gonna be doing the same thing he did to Santoshi. And maybe things won't turn out the same this time. We'll see.
取り調べして自白を強要ってのもう時代じゃないと思いますんで。
I couldn't say anything in response, but me slamming the door shut probably served the same purpose. After lightly beeping the horn, Oishi-san's truck drove off. I went to the front door without waving goodbye. Did you even get your bike back? The door was locked, but the chain wasn't up. I unlocked the door and entered. Then walked over to the staircase. That was where I lost consciousness. Okay, whole bunch of notes. Scrapbook note 9. The old leader, or the elderly leader, of the Sonzaki family. And then from the scrapbook, 10. And then request denied, something there. So that will be interesting to check out next time. So until then, take care, and I will see you then.